Good evening and welcome to this WEBN special report, the Massachusetts primary results. I'm Maggie Smolka. We want to begin our coverage with a live report from Martha Coakley's primary party at the Fairmont Hotel in Copley Square. Coakley has been considered the favorite for the Democratic nomination in the governor's race. WEBN's Dustin Wlodkowski is there now and joins us. Dustin, good evening.
Good evening, Maggie. Martha Coakley supporters are packed in a ballroom at the Copley Plaza Hotel behind me. They're excited, happy, and anxious to see if their candidate's strategy is going to work out. That strategy, of course, in this race is to learn from the past. In 2010, Coakley had lots of critics during the campaign she ran against Scott Brown, saying she was aloof and didn't want to get out in the field. This time around, it's certainly been different. Coakley had lunch with supporters at Santarpio's Pizza in East Boston today, where she said her campaign has made 500,000 phone calls since last September. That's what her campaign thinks is going to give them the edge tonight. She is favored to win over her opponent, State Treasurer Stephen Grossman, but we won't know the results until they're official, and that won't happen for a little bit. Maggie?
Moving to the Republican side of things, Charlie Baker is facing off against Mark Fisher. Polls are showing Baker is holding a strong lead. WEBN reporter Brittany Gervais was at Charlie Baker's campaign party in Dorchester.
Baker had been a favorite in the polls leading up to this election, consistently coming ahead of the Tea Party business owner. The 57-year-old businessman is a supporter of gay marriage and abortion rights. And many people we spoke to at the event believe the support from both political parties made Baker stand out.
I supported Charlie 4 years ago. He is the best fit of public and private service, but he also is just a great person.
He is he's a really, really kind and very caring person. Professionally, he's accomplished so much, both his time serving Governors Weld and Cellucci when they cut taxes 27 times, reformed welfare, and actually created 500,000 jobs, and also his time in the private sector where he helped turn around Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare from near bankruptcy into a national leader in customer satisfaction. So really his resume and his accomplishment really attracted me to the campaign.
For WEBN in Dorchester, I'm Brittany Gervais.
Turning back to the Democratic race, State Treasurer Steve Grossman and former healthcare administrator Don Berwick are up against Coakley. WEBN reporter Madeline Abry was over with Grossman's supporters.
Steve Grossman, Democratic nominee hopeful in the governor's race, awaited results from today's primary. Grossman's supporters, campaign staff, and family gathered at the Park Plaza Hotel in downtown Boston. Campaign manager Josh Wolf is hopeful for the night's turnout.
A lot of people are still making last-minute decisions, and we're talking to them and we're reminding them that Steve Grossman is the progressive jobs creator. He's the best candidate to take on Charlie Baker.
Grossman currently serves as state treasurer, and if Grossman wins, he will face off against the Republican candidate for the remainder of the campaign. State Senator Sal DiDomenico believes Grossman is the best Democrat for the job.
He's done so many good things to his entire life in the private sector, public sector, and he's also been a person that's been true to his word.
The race for governor will continue up until Election Day in November. For WEBN, I'm Madeline Abry.
Now we want to bring your attention to what might be the most interesting local election. Representative John Tierney has to fend off 4 Democrats to keep his seat in the 6th District. His biggest competitor, Seth Moulton, a 35-year-old Marine veteran. In fact, in recent polls, Tierney has 47% support among likely primary voters. Moulton has 44%. Here to help us break down the numbers is polling analyst Spencer Kimball. Spencer, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Maggie.
Now, Tierney has held this seat since 1996, so a big upset in this primary would be if he fell and didn't win. So from the numbers that you've conducted in your polls, do you think that Moulton has a chance of winning?
I do. I think Moulton has really brought a lot of momentum in these last couple of weeks. He had $1 million ad buy and then upped it to, I believe, about 1.3 million. Tierney in the last couple of days has gone very negative, and that's a sign of weakness amongst the incumbent. And I could see a upset in the making up here in the 6th District.
So Tierney, obviously scared to lose, begins attacking Moulton in these advertisements. Do you think this ended up helping or hurting his campaign?
Well, I think it would help him in the short term in that he might be able to fend off Moulton, but it is so negative and very distorted of the truth that in the long term, I believe Moulton supporters will be, it's something called a divisive primary. And they're not going to then go and vote for Tierney in the general. They'll end up voting for Tisei or not voting. So I think it might help Tierney get through this primary, but he'll end up losing the general to Tisei.
Now, who has the better chance of winning against Tisei, Tierney or Moulton?
I would say Moulton. I think a fresh face doesn't come with the baggage of Tierney. Obviously, his wife's indictment going to jail last time, his brother-in-law, really brings a lot of baggage to the table. And in our polls shows that a complete opposite. Against Moulton, Tisei is down 8 points, and against Tierney, he's up 8 points. So you can really see it in the numbers.
Now, the turnout for voters today was lower than expected. Do you think that this will play any matter in the numbers that we'll be seeing?
Well, it depends on what you were expecting. I thought turnout is about what it should be. It's a primary. There isn't that much excitement at the top of the ticket. I see, you got to see what happens in the cities. What's happening in Peabody, Lynn, Salem. Those are what's going to Gloucester. That's what's going to either bring Tierney over the top like it did for him in 2012, 2008, or it's going to sink him. If Moulton can make inroads in those areas, then that should probably yield a successful evening for him.
Now, in terms of numbers overall, who do you see winning the elections tonight?
I see Moulton coming up with maybe a 1 or 2 point victory. I could see, depending on how the cities come, I'm expecting a city like Salem to go 2-1 in favor of Tierney. So if all of a sudden those numbers come in and it's not 2-1, it's 55-45, Moulton's going to win.
All right, Spencer Kimball, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
That does it for this WEBN special report. Join us online for more coverage and conversation at WEBN.TV. Have a great night.